Alrighty, a very happy Monday and welcome to the TNC Sports Talk. My name is Justin. Today is March 30th of 2026. I hope everyone had themselves a good weekend. I know I did. Watched a lot of baseball back on over the weekend. It's fun because we get the Reds TV, and Reds TV allows you to watch games on the MLB TV app, and whether it's a home or away game, you can really just stay connected. And so I made it a priority this weekend, opening weekend for Major League Baseball, to follow and to watch Reds baseball. What's great is that it continues in tonight for as the Reds get ready to take on the Pirates, and when they get hit the road this weekend to Texas, we'll get a chance to watch it. Now, given I'm not going to be able to watch all 30 ball club, or all 162 games, but if I get a chance to have the Reds on in the background right now, that's the team that we're following. That's the team that we're heavily speaking of, thanks to Reds TV, thanks to MLB TV. I also got a chance to check out back on Friday the Louisville Bats that took place down south in Louisville. They took on the Omaha Storm Chasers in a 3-game series. We'll talk about that today, but I was thinking about how we are going to approach this season, and there's a lot of Cincinnati news related conversations, but I feel like there is an importance, okay, that we also at least pay attention to what AAA baseball has to offer. Our affiliates down in Chattanooga, our affiliates down in Dayton, Ohio, and we're not going to dive and be too exclusive to what they're putting out on the field. But, you realize guys like Chase Petty, JJ Bleday, Will Banfield, uh, Edwin Arroyo, we need to understand as a podcaster, as a sports talk host, what's going on in our minor leagues. And so we are going to along with what's going on with the Cincinnati Bearcats, we are going to find room to talk about what's going on with the Louisville Bats. It doesn't mean that I'm watching every game. It doesn't mean that, a lot of the statistics really matter. But if we have the expectation if someone is to get hurt, because I, for one, was a little bit worried about Sal Stewart when he got hit in the forearm on Thursday, and he was clutching his catching arm, and it brought him down for a brief moment. And I was a bit concerned that, oh, here we go, he was going to be taken out of the game, he was going to be placed on the 10-day, 15-day IL, whatever the case may be, and we were going to have to endure our first injury during the season. And it's one thing after another, right? It's first it's Hunter Green, then it's Caleb Ferguson, then it's Nick Lodolo days prior, or not Nick Lodolo, but yeah, Nick Lodolo is dealing with that finger blister in his outing, and it's one thing after another that, to me, we can't afford to have. So, it is important, I believe, that we follow and we pay attention to what's going down at least down in AAA. Okay. Plus, there are minor league affiliates. We want to see them perform well. We want to see them win their league and, have success, because that success can be carried at the major league level. So we will designate time on this show for that. We will also talk about the MLB franchise series that started. Well, it didn't start, it's been continuing, but we started our new season, just like the red season. And so we'll talk about that season, get you guys ready for the new game series beginning tonight, and then we'll get you guys ready for WWE Monday Night Raw. We are just 19 days away from WrestleMania 42. We have a couple extra matches on the docket that I'm excited to talk about today. And so we'll get down into that. But sports wise, it's been fun watching sports this weekend. Sweet 16, Elite 8 all took place back on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday. They don't play their Final Four until this weekend. So we can at least get you guys a brief breakdown of that. And one thing that I took away this weekend was the ABS challenges. We know that that's a new entity at the regular season level for Major League Baseball. And we saw it play in effect in some of the games we saw over the weekend, especially on Saturday, where the Reds took on the Red Sox. The Red Sox used their ABS challenges early in the game, lost both of them, and then they ended up regretting it. It caused their head manager, Alex Cora, to be ejected from the game. And all I can really say is that, there was that moment. I don't know exactly remember what inning. It was like in the middle of the game, though, and Gino Suarez was at bat, and he called it twice, and CB Buckner does not. It got overturned twice because it was two called strikes that would have ended up punching out Suarez, and it was on the outside lower corner, and the first one he called, and it was overturned. And then right back again, CB Buckner called it again, and Gino challenged, and it was overturned. And you could just tell. I don't know if it was frustration. It looks like it's just CB Buckner's home plate umpire's look overall. But I gotta say, it didn't look like the umpire was pleased, and it worked in the favor. Now I've heard the take of this for both sides of the field, but I realistically think that this honestly it does a couple of things. One, I think umpires need to be just acceptive that, look, we're human, you're going to make errors, and this is what the challenges are for. I mean, there's not a lot of calls. It's going to rule out the umpires that are really, uh, uptight and neat, to the ones that could get carried away. All right, about an inch and a half, 2 inches, especially with two strikes against you, is understandable. That was something that, as I was playing in my youth, that was explained to me that the umpires widen and shrink their strike zone depending on what the count is. If the batter's in favor of the count, normally umpires want pitchers to just, hey, throw it right down the middle. No excuse. And it's vice versa. If there's two strikes on you, that strike zone's going to expand and you need to start chasing. And so there is a force of habit that this has happened, and that's carried on throughout the time of baseball. Now, like I said, we have this modern day technology that we're using at the professional level that keeps these umpires, from getting too extensive with their strike zone. All right. Now, on top of that, it's going to keep batters at honest, because if you are called out on an ABS challenge, you can't argue it. As a matter of fact, I think we saw a manager get thrown out, ejection, because of an ABS challenge. So there's going to be its perks. There's going to be its advantages. There's strategy of when you could use them. There's going to be strategies on who you can, who has the ability to use it. If I'm looking at the Cincinnati Reds lineup, you're looking at the two guys that strike out the most, Ellie De La Cruz and Gino. I mean, you also look at the, possibly Sal Stewart, obviously Jose Trevino, Tyler Stevenson. They both bring quality values. You'd figure that they have the best chance at calling balls and strikes because they're behind the plate often. But it's still an adjustment to today's baseball. And it's going to probably be for the rest of the year. And some fans aren't going to like it. Some fans are going to love it. But it's going to keep things honest when it comes down to calling the balls and strikes on the game. And so if I took away anything from this weekend, was the adjustment, the official adjustment and usage of the ABS challenges. And you saw a little bit of that, particularly towards the Red Series against the Red Sox. Now, look, I'm going to be fair with you. We didn't have opening day like we wanted it to be. Kind of a little bit nervous heading into this season, right? You lose your first game. The Red Sox have really good pitching. How are we able to come back on Saturday and Sunday and put that opening day beside and find a way to take the series? Let's remind you, the Red Sox haven't had a losing record, hasn't lost a series since last season. And, I'm going to call it out, a little bit of fairy dust, whatever you want to presume it to be. They found a way not to just pick up a victory in extra innings on Saturday, but they also picked up a win on Sunday. Now, these are close games, and one of the things that struggled for the Cincinnati Reds last year was one-run games, was extra inning games, and over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, we saw everything just kind of work together. One thing I'll take away from the Reds this past weekend, it was the fact that we were able to see our whether it was prospects, whether it was guys we brought in under free agency or trades, we saw players perform and find success. Rhett Lauder went 5 innings, which that was, for me, validated enough. We saw Suarez go long. We saw Ellie De La Cruz go long. We saw Sal Stewart have a phenomenal weekend. Dane Myers walked it off on Saturday as the Reds won 6-5. Emilio Pagan did blow that game, but he was asked to pitch more than an inning, and I guess I'll let a few outings slide. But I really would like to see Emilio Pagan clean a lot of that up. He allowed 1 hit on 1 run. It was a home run. Struck out 2 batters in that outing. Ended up tying the game, causing us to go into extra innings. And when I saw that home run, to me, it instantly told me, well, here we go again. Our bullpen, is not able to close out games. And they were going to give up. Now, he was asked to come in the 8th inning, right? And he was able to get out of it. And so, like I said, there's a little bit of wiggle room this early on. But what I think was the conversation that I heard over the weekend was mainly so finding our relievers and dedicating them to that inning so they know the situation that they're going in every time. Tony Santillan is a prime example. Being able to go into the 8th inning and be an 8th inning situational setup guy for Pagan in the 9th is something that we want to get in the routine with, and just have that 8th and 9th guy at least sealed each and every time, minus, a few occasions. So over the weekend, you saw Ellie finally get that long ball out to right field on Saturday. You had that second deck, 3-run blast that gave the Reds the lead. And that was all that was needed. It was great to see Pagan come out on Sunday. And although he blown the save on Saturday, he ended up pitching and saving the game for the squad. They picked up a series win, which is a huge relief, and there's a little bit now of confidence heading into this next season. Sal Stewart, I'm gonna say the big key player that you got to highlight. As I mentioned, it is a to me this is something that he is a prospect. This is his first full time. Hey, you're going to get your chance. You're going to be out here, whether it's a righty or a lefty you're taking on. You're going to be playing somewhere. You're going to get those at bats, and he's delivered. He's performed. He's been able to uh, put the bat, connect the bat with the ball. On Thursday, he was 3 for 4. On Saturday, he was 2 for 4, and on Sunday, he was 2 for 4, 2 for 2. Saturday, he had that home run, and over the weekend, total of 3 walks. So, great plate discipline, great plate appearances, and he fits right there between Ellie De La Cruz and Gino Suarez. One thing I did not get a chance to look up to, I'll have to find out tomorrow, was the combination of strikeouts between Ellie and Gino over the entire weekend. But this is why we put Stewart in between. You just hope that we catch them, one of these scenarios where if you don't pitch to Ellie, you got to pitch to Stewart. If you don't pitch to him, you got to pitch to Suarez. And you're going to get one of those three guys are going to break out. And so, what's also important to remember out of this, which I love to watch, is that as Sal is, you know, let's face it, Sal Stewart, he had a great 3-game series against the Red Sox, composed to, let's be honest, Ellie or even Gino. Okay, but are we disappointed in Gino's performance over the weekend? Right, we brought him in because we want him to be this big power hitting guy. We brought him in because he was supposed to be this centerpiece of this lineup that when runners are on in scoring position, he's going to drive them in. And we haven't seen that a whole lot. Yeah, he had a huge home run that did play an impact in Sunday's game, but otherwise, offensively, he hasn't been there a whole lot. He has drawn a couple of walks, but are we disappointed in a 3-game performance when you have guys like Stewart who has been able to step in and have a weekend performance that we can expect? See, the design, I would love all 3 or all 9 guys to be on hitting streaks, to be hot at the plate every game of the series. Let's face it, that's not going to happen. There's going to be slumps. It's being able to piggyback off of who's in the slump and who's hot and having that mix in that order kind of fall off of each other, right? So, I just not just a 2, I think regardless if the Reds took the series or if they lost all 3 games, sure, there were still some kinks to work out. That's what you can expect in the first series or even the first couple of weeks. But there is that, are those excitements, and you can see out of the daily performance, and that's what's going to make this lineup so good to watch, especially when they start getting those extra, we get into May, June, and those bats really start taking off. So, like I said, the Reds took the series against the Red Sox, and they walk away 2-1 heading into the first official week. Now, the Reds will host the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we'll get into tonight's game specifically. Tonight is at 6:40. Tuesday is at 6:40, and on Sunday the rubber matchup is at 12:40. They'll have Thursday off before heading out to Texas, Arlington precisely, to give the Rangers their home opener of the season. Texas was over in where they were over in Washington or Philadelphia, excuse me. They're over in Philadelphia, and now they're over in Baltimore. They play tonight. So we will give them their home opener later this week. But let's take a look at what is going on around the National League Central as we look ahead, or as we wrap up this past weekend. We saw the Pirates take on the Mets, the White Sox in Milwaukee. Washington was over in Chicago to face the Cubs, and the Rays were taking on the Cardinals. Um, those all three were 3-game series. On Saturday, we saw the Cardinals beat the Rays 6-5. Then we also saw them lose on Sunday 11-7. They're 2-1 heading into the season. After a pretty gnarly loss on Thursday, Chicago comes back and puts double digits on the board for against the Nationals, beating them 10-2. They also lost to them 6-3 on Sunday, and Washington took the series, and Chicago has started the season 1-2. The Pittsburgh Pirates, after losing game 1, they ended up losing game 2, 4-2 in 11 innings on Saturday. And then they came back to win 4-3 on Sunday against the New York Mets. And then Milwaukee, who crushed a 14-2 win on opening day against the White Sox. They came back and beat the White Sox 6-1 on Saturday, and they also beat them 9-7 on Sunday. Their only team that has undefeated heading into this week in the NL Central. Today's games, you'll see everybody from the NL Central compete as the Mets open up against the Cardinals at Busch Stadium. You'll see right-handed pitcher Clay Holmes for the Mets taking on Kyle Leahy for the Cardinals. Both teams enter in with a 2-1 record. Milwaukee, and that first pitch is at 7:45, by the way. At 7:40, the Tampa Bay Rays are headed over to Milwaukee to face on the Brewers. Nick Martinez, right-handed pitcher, on for the 1-2 Rays, taking on the 3-0 Milwaukee Kyle Harrison, left-handed pitcher. At 7:40, the Angels are in town at Wrigley Field to take on the Cubs. The Angels are 2-2 as they send out right-handed pitcher Ryan Johnson on the mound. Edward Cabrera, right-handed pitcher for the Cubs, as the Cubs enter in with a 1-2 record. Now, we could talk about it. It's still very early on. Let's not really focus so much on what the record holds or what the standing holds. It's all competition, but the Reds get their first chance at NL Central competition tonight. Right, they take on the Pirates. Pirates are 1-2, going up against the Reds that are 2-1. Braxton Ashcraft will be on the mound for the Pirates, and Chase Burns will be on the mound for the Reds. Now, according to this 3-game weekend schedule, from my understanding, and we'll give you more of a day-to-day idea here throughout the week, but from my understanding, the schedule is supposed to be Chase Burns, Brandon Williamson, and then roll over to Andrew Abbott as well. So that is something to pay attention to if you guys are interested in getting tickets to the game. Maybe you guys are headed out, upcoming opponents as a possibility. But the big note that I want to emphasize here heading into this 3-game series between the Reds and the Pirates is something that we have preached about in years past. We'll preach about moving forward, and it's just something that it's within our own settings. It's all about winning games that you should win, winning series that you should win. And it's great when the Reds could play good or could play exceptional baseball and win a couple games, even win a series against the Yankees or the Red Sox or even the Cubs, for example. But when they go up against a team like Miami or they go up against the Pirates, like we're going to see here in the next couple weeks, there are series and there are games that you should just walk away with the victory. And I'm not saying that as a pitching matchup, Ashcraft and Burns are two separate people on two different levels. But, I still feel on paper, I don't think this is a biased opinion because Don't get me wrong, Pittsburgh has gotten some good players, Brandon Lowe, they, picked up Marcelo Zuna, they picked up, Ryan O'Hearn. They are a good team, and they did play a solid Mets team, but I still feel like the Reds have a better roster on paper compared to what the Pirates have. They're also at home at Great America Ballpark. A home field advantage should go to Cincinnati, at least to take 2 out of 3. And this is a series that early on can get to people and can even get to the Reds. If you don't take this series, you thought, this. I'm not saying that this is going to be the deciding factor to whether or not the Reds make it the playoffs or not in September, but you're going to look back on this series and say, well, we should have took 2 out of 3. We should have won this series. We should at least took a game out of it. And if it doesn't go in our favor, we could be looking back at the series saying, well, what are we doing wrong? Right? Next Monday, and I know this is a week away, but we're taking on Miami in Miami on a 4-game series. There shouldn't be no reason why we can't at least take 2 out of 4, if not 3 out of 4. And a good ball club has very few, if not at all, missed opportunities like this. Now, I know that the Pirates don't make it easy. I think it's one of the challenges that the Reds face when you're facing the division. I think they play terrible against their division, and I get concerned. So it's more of a prove me wrong scenario where the Reds need to sit here and prove me wrong. Say, all right, you know what? We're taking on the Pirates. We're just as good, if not equal, if not better than them. And let's take the series. Like I said, it can, the success that we don't have, we're about to hit a 7-game road stance before coming back home. You're 2-1 at home. It's these simple things that, all right, we got 3 more games. We don't want to finish. We have the ability to finish off 3-3. So let's do that at least. But to get ourselves ahead of the game, okay, you think about this. Milwaukee is ahead of the game. We're currently ahead of the game, but not as much so as, St. Louis, for example. This is the time we're at home. We should be able to walk away with a 4-2 record. Or at least 4-2, 5-1, whatever you want to consider it. I think settling for a 3-3 is kind of throwing your hands up and said, okay, let's go on the road. Let's see what we do. But being able to finish off with a winning record is more precise. Other things just to kind of keep note about that I pulled away here over the weekend. Andrew McCutchen, who played for the Texas Rangers. He spent some time, 3 years, with the Philadelphia Phillies. Texas were over in Philadelphia to open their season up this past weekend. Hit his first home run against for the Rangers. And as he was running the bases, one of the local celebrity influencer, Dave Osoko, ends up kind of taunting, pestering, friendly pestering against Andrew McCutchen in the top of the 4th inning. And, Andrew McCutchen was like, hey, what do you want me to say? I'm sorry. I thought this was just a little fun teaser, with everything that Andrew McCutchen has done over the this past off season. I know a lot of heads turned when the Pirates have shipped ways from McCutchen during the offseason, and we felt that there was a little bit of a salty taste to it, and he finds himself in a new team with the Rangers, and he spends some time with the Phillies to be able to come back around and just have a laugh and be able to enjoy his time and that home run moment. I thought that was pretty special. Christian Yelich from Milwaukee, they're 3-0. He hit his first career home run coming off the bench as they came back in 6 runs in the 8th inning to beat the White Sox. And this is a moment that, Christian Yelich has had a long decorated career. But one thing he has never been able to do, because he's always been given the starting time, he's always started, but coming off the bench in a crucial moment and be able to hit a home run is kind of like one of those bucket lists, right? You got to check it off that bucket list there, and be able to take on, have that little special moment for his, over the weekend and for his career. So that was kind of special to notate about. Let's take a look at what's going on down in the farm. Louisville Bats opened their regular season up against the Omaha Storm Chasers. 2-1 was the final score. The Bats won back on Friday. Chase Petty pitched 4 2/3 of an inning, allowing 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, and 8 strikeouts to the victorious run. Blake Dunn, Hector Rodriguez, and Reese Hines all went 2 for 4 in Friday's showcase. On Saturday, Bats continue their success in extra innings as they won 6-5 against the Omaha Storm Chasers. Julian Aguirre went 3 2/3 of an inning, giving up 2 hits, 2 walks, and punching out 5 batters. Christian Encarnacion Strand went 2 for 5. He scored in 2 runs, along with his first home run on the season. On Sunday, the Bats also beat Omaha 10-4 with Will Benfield going 1 for 4 with a home run. He also walked. And these are, to me, the moments that we want to pay attention to. If there's another starting pitcher that goes out, who are we calling up? Julian Aguirre or Chase Petty? Will Benfield is a backup catcher. Christian Encarnacion Strand is an upcoming guy that we're looking to place in the infield if someone goes down. Blake Dunn, Hector Rodriguez, Reese Hines, J.J. Bleday are those guys out there in the outfield that's fighting, hey, if there's an outfielder spot that needs to be called up, who do we go to? We're all fighting for that position. So that's why I claim that it's key that we don't have to be on top of what the minor league system looked like, but at least give it a few minutes of our attention each day, each week, just to stay up to date with what the farm's going on, because sure enough, I could almost guarantee you that one of these days we're going to see some of these people get called up, and we got to be ready to fill them into our lineup, okay? This week, more baseball in the minor league farm system. The Bats begin a 5-game series at home, March 31st through April 5th. It's actually, 6 games, excuse me. Against the Iowa Cubs, Chattanooga Lookouts begin a 3-game series this Friday, April 3rd through April 5th. They're on the road against the Columbus Clippers and those Dayton Dragons in the High A baseball on a 3-game series that plays Thursday, April 2nd through Saturday, April 4th. They'll be taking place on the road against the Lansing Lugnuts. If you have the MILB TV, or if you got the MLB TV, you could get the minor league games that aren't in the market. And I encourage you to check out what the farm system has to offer. Alrighty. Also, let's take a look at what's going on with Cincinnati Bearcats, as they did not perform quite so well here over the past weekend as they hosted Kansas, the Jayhawks, in a 3-game series, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. This was part of the Big 12 conference play. Cincinnati Bearcats won on Friday, shutting out the Jayhawks 5-0. You had Nathan Taylor go on 7 innings, giving up 6 hits, no runs, and 3 walks on 9 strikeouts. Kansas comes back to win 8-2 on Saturday, and then beating the Bearcats 13-6 yesterday. The Bearcats are now 20-20 overall play in 2026. They are 4-5 in conference play. They're on the 2-game losing streak with 11-4 record at home and a 9-6 record on the road. Their next game is coming up tomorrow night on Tuesday I will be available on ESPN as Cincinnati will host the Wright State at the UC Baseball Stadium. You get your tickets or head out to the game tomorrow afternoon, and it's man, you wanna they've had so much success against Kansas, and you're just kind of asking yourself, well, what happened this past week? It just wasn't their weekend, to be honest. Alrighty. Well, continuing to move things along, a couple just news updates about what's going on our TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. As you guys are aware, we are in the full swing of a 2026 season through the MLB The Show 26 franchise mode, where we play as the Cincinnati Reds. And at the beginning of every series, we kind of give you a rundown, a breakdown of what to expect, how the previous series went, to what can we learn in the upcoming series. So tonight, you could expect about 5 to 10 minutes. I do try to keep it fairly quick, but I want to provide you just enough details heading into the week so you guys are up to date. Maybe some reactions to how the previous series went, and what to expect in the upcoming week. Well, we went 1 for 2. We only took one out of the 3 games against the Red Sox, so not so great. We lost. We won opening day. We ended up losing in extra innings on Saturday, and then we ended up losing 6-1 on Sunday. So a tough loss to a series. Our pitchers, I think they did well. What I took away was the fight. Even though our starting pitching had an inning or two per outing where it kind of got away from them, but then after they were able to get out of that, they were able to settle down quite nicely. We begin a 3-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates, beginning up at 6:40 this evening. We're getting that game uploaded as we can. Tomorrow will be at 6:40, and then Sunday's game will be at 12:40. And yes, it will be going on as we get ready for our show on Wednesday. We'll have the day off on Thursday. We'll head into the weekend, giving the Texas Rangers their opening day on Friday. That first game is at 4:05. Saturday will be at 7:05, and on Sunday, we'll be at 2:35. On top of us playing as MLB The Show, as the Cincinnati Reds in MLB The Show franchise mode, we also pick out key marquee matchups around the league on specific selected days as to celebrate and to still partake in our opening festivities. We will have on Friday the Guardians opening day as they take on the Chicago Cubs. First pitch 1 o'clock. You could get that CPU versus CPU simulated game on our TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. And then on Saturday at 4 p.m., it's either going to be the New York Mets taking on the Giants or the Padres taking on the Boston Red Sox. That game will be decided at the moment thereof. I may make an announcement for that when we decide later on this week. On Sunday, we will have Sunday Night Baseball at 7:20, where the Cardinals will take on the Detroit Tigers at home. And that will be our baseball coverage on our TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. While you're there watching or listening, please like, share, and subscribe, and have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. Alrighty. Also, beginning tomorrow, 10 a.m., invite you to check out to the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel, where we begin our MLB Road to the Show series, trying to get a little bit more out of the content that we get out of MLB The Show. We are starting our Road to the Show series, where we play as an individual player, trying to go on through the high school, college, and minor league level, trying to get to the big leagues. And we will have a series beginning tomorrow. Launch dates Monday and Thursdays, hopefully, at 10 a.m. So you can check that out tomorrow morning and follow that series. Subscribe and have those notifications on so you don't miss a single episode. All right, March Madness continues to take place. The Sweet 16 back on Thursday and Friday. And then the Elite Eight was back on Saturday and Sunday. And now we have the Final Four in our March Madness tournament. couple impressive victories that we saw over here. It was a very close game between Duke and St. John in the Sweet 16 as Duke pulled away with an 80-75 win. Michigan beat Alabama. UConn beat Michigan State. Tennessee beat Iowa State. Purdue beat Texas, and Iowa beat uh, Nebraska. Illinois beat Houston, and Arizona beat Arkansas in the Sweet 16. Over the weekend, we saw Illinois beat and upset Iowa. Arizona beat Purdue, and Michigan beat Tennessee. And the big thriller was the buzzer three-game was the 3-point shot as Duke pulled away and Duke lost to UConn. And I thought that this was pretty incredible. I don't know where people sit at with their brackets. I could tell you in one of my brackets, I have officially been eliminated because I had Duke winning it, and they ended up losing. But I still have two teams in Michigan and Arizona making it to the Final Four of that one. So that was pretty interesting. But in my next bracket, where I have Arizona winning it all, they're the only teams left, right? So on my one side where I had Kansas and Nebraska, that's not happening. It'll be Illinois or UConn. And then I had Arizona beating Iowa State. So in this case, I need Arizona to beat Michigan. Like I said, I don't normally play the brackets as much. I tend to do my best to play with them, but unfortunately, I just end up, and I usually find myself eliminated within like the first round or two. So I'm very impressed in myself to see teams and games come out and me go this far. I hope Arizona wins. I really do, but that's what I think. That's, like I said, that's the great thing about NCAA and men's basketball, so to speak. It's in any given day in these tournaments. You could be the best of the best. You could have an undefeated record. Okay, we saw Miami, Ohio, for example, during regular season, and they end up getting eliminated early on. And so, talk about Duke, the upset with Duke. It's not guaranteed, no matter how good you are, what you can expect. So that was just something that we head into it. They will tip off, I think, Saturday's game. So both games are played out Saturday. First, well, they're both available on TNT, by the way. First tip-off on Saturday, April 4th, Illinois and UConn at 6:09, and at 8:49, we see Michigan and Arizona State. I believe the championship game is the next day, if not Monday night. I'm not too sure how that really works out for that. So, but stay tuned. We'll talk about it later on this week. Moving our attention to WWE WrestleMania 42, the road to WrestleMania continues. We are just 19 days away, less than 3 weeks before this 2-night extravaganza at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. The match card has really improved just a bit much, and that's one thing that we're focused on. 3 weeks away, we have a total of 8 matches on the docket for that, and we're expected to hopefully see more heading into Raw tonight. Here's the WrestleMania 42's match card so far. First, we have the World Heavyweight Championship, Roman Reigns taking on CM Punk. CM Punk's the champion. Roman Reigns won the Men's Royal Rumble match back in January. We also see the Women's World Championship match as Liv Morgan takes on Stephanie Valkyrie. Stephanie Valkyrie is the champion, and Liv Morgan won the Women's Royal Rumble match. The WWE Champion will be taking place inside a Hell in a Cell as Randy Orton will take on Cody Rhodes, the champion. Randy Orton won the Men's Elimination Chamber match just a month ago. The WWE Women's Championship match, Rhea Ripley taking on Jade Cargill. Jade is the current champion. Rhea Ripley won the Women's Elimination Chamber match. As we saw last week, Becky, just like AJ Lee, persuade Becky to put the title on the line at the Elimination Chamber. Becky has persuaded AJ Lee to put her WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship match on the line at WrestleMania 42 in a Sun City street fight. We'll also see the United States Championship as Trick Williams will take on Sami Zayn, who is the champion. Sami Zayn won it back on Friday night as he beat Carmelo Hayes in the United States Open Challenge match. Oba Femi taking on Brock Lesnar. Oba was stepped up to Brock Lesnar's call out a few weeks ago and has been dominant ever since, taking Brock Lesnar out twice. And then in an unsanctioned match, we will see Jacob Fatu taking on Drew McIntyre. So those are WrestleMania 42 matches. We could kind of take a little bit of a preview later on this week as we talk about other shows. There's a couple of things I do want to mention on that later on this week. So we'll find some time. But Raw is live tonight on the road to WrestleMania in New York. And here's a couple of things that we can take away from. First off, we will see the WWE Tag Team Championship match between Austin Theory and Logan Paul taking on Jay and Jimmy the Usos. The Usos are the champion, and it was it's not confirmed nor denied, but it was kind of stated that a possible reasoning why the titles didn't leave the Usos was because they made an appearance in San Francisco Wednesday during the first baseball game of the 2026 Yankees and Giants, where they did make they also wanted the titles on them during the showcase and the representation of the WWE. Makes a lot of sense. But as I have proclaimed last Monday, I expect something to be twisted where Austin Theory and Logan Paul wins the tag team titles. I don't know if it has to be an outside interference or if they just lose straight up, but we keep seeing LA Knight insert his business into the mix of things. We've seen this separation of brotherhood between Jimmy and Jay. And just like Paul Heyman said weeks ago, that Austin Theory and Logan Paul needs to be worried about capturing titles and gold and not silly storylines. And it's something that I have preached with the Vision ever since they've eliminated Seth Rollins, quote unquote, since he got hurt. And that is that this is the future stars of tomorrow. These are the guys that are expected to become a name, or the symbolism of becoming what the WWE looks like in the next 5 years, but they have not dominated anything. And sure, injuries have prevented them, have stopped them from their success, but this is where you could start back up, right? We don't know, we don't have a Braun Breaker. We don't have a Bronson Reed at the moment. Austin Theory and Logan Paul has been kind of just these floating ducks in the pond, so to speak. And while Paul Heyman is dealing with Seth Rollins, and while Brock Lesnar has his match with Oba Femi, nothing presents a better time right now than to put some titles on the Vision. And what better way than the tag team titles? And it keeps Austin Theory and Logan Paul in this story picture. It keeps the Vision linked together. Let's just say it doesn't work out and they got to go split off. They can still go split off. That's fine. But it keeps Logan Paul active, Austin Theory active. It also keeps the Vision going forward. So I expect to see the tag team titles switch hands tonight. We also see the women's tag team titles as Bayley and Lyra Valkyria take on Nia Jax and Lash Legends. Jax and Legend are the tag team titles. This is another match where the rumor is a fatal four-way at WrestleMania among these four women, plus Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, and then you also see, um, who else, um, was a part of that picture? Gosh, top of my head, I don't remember. Anyways, you can or the Bella Twins. So maybe that they partake at in this match and cause chaos. Penta ends up putting the men's Intercontinental Championship title on the line tonight. Io Sky will take on Raquel Rodriguez. Brock Lesnar is set to appear and has something to say about Oba Feme's knockout over the last couple of weeks. Roman Reigns and CM Punk are going to be under the same roof for tonight. And then Finn Balor speaks on behalf of the Judgment Day. And a lot of people anticipating Balor to challenge Dominic Mysterio to a match at WrestleMania. Now, if it's me just maybe entertaining my left field thinking, if I was Dominic, I'd reject it. I reject the match this week, and then something happens next week where you kind of force the hand of, or you have a match with JD McDonough next week and kind of force the hand where then Dominic gets the upper hand decision and then agrees to the match, right? Just something that can maybe push out a little bit longer. Other things to pay attention to for Raw tonight. Obviously, Seth Rollins was arrested for violating his restraining order against Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman is expected to speak on that as well as tonight, but see how that story twist. Liv Morgan and Stephanie Valkyrie, they finally have had to, after a couple of brawls, they've been separated with each other. Does that story make a little twist? Becky Lynch and AJ Lee, we've had a lot of talks. Now the match is set. We got to see something take it to the next level, in my opinion. And does that, we've seen brawls with Roman and Punk. We've seen brawls with, you know, Liv and Stephanie. Do we see something similar of sort with Becky and AJ Lee? Also, El Grande Americano and the original El Grande Americano. I like that feud. I want to see that as a WrestleMania match, maybe a mask versus mask match. Um, could we see that? I mean, and does that carry weight? Also, who will Danhausen curse next? I mean, that would be, I've liked what I've seen out of Danhausen. The only issue that I've had with Danhausen, and I love that he's just been popping up. Doesn't matter where, doesn't matter who, he's just been popping up and feeding into the storyline. And I love that about Danhausen. What I'm not a fan of is I like you to stick to a story. Like I was hooked when he cursed The Miz, and I wanted to see how The Miz was affected by that afterwards, right? And I wanted to see it ongoing for a couple weeks. And then it's like, he's back to cursing someone else. And now it's just to the ISP show, whatever. I like him to narrate one, he doesn't have to do anything in the ring. Just narrate one curse to somebody. And then the big question, which we may see tonight, has to be, where is Gunther? Gunther has been absent for a couple weeks, and he has been on this tear of retiring superstars. He's done it to Goldberg. He's done it to John Cena. He's done it to AJ Styles. Who is his next victim? And how can we see that happen tonight? As a matter of fact, from what I've seen on social media, people are not pleased with not seeing Gunther out there. Now, it doesn't faze me because Gunther is somebody who he has created this reputation that he doesn't need to be anywhere until the time for him to act is there. He's already done his piece by coming out every week and, rubbing the salt into the wound that he's retired John Cena, he's retired AJ Styles, and, maybe the speculation holds that he may have another retirement plan for somebody else heading into WrestleMania. Who knows? But the important thing is is that we are at WrestleMania season. All right, I'm going to say officially 2 weeks away. And what does that match look like for him? And I'm sure the WWE has something in store, in plan for Gunther. But let's find out who that is. Um, you know, I'm happy that we're finally seeing the road to WrestleMania and the WrestleMania 42 match cards get kind of start shaping out. I feel like you have this big match in weight. You have a World Heavyweight Championship. You have a WWE Championship. You have a sanctioned Jacob and Drew. You have an Obafemi and Brock. You have, um, you have Liv and Stephanie, and then you have Rhea and Jade. So it's starting to pan out, which I love to see. I'm starting to get excited. The match card doesn't look too bad. And yeah, this validates us complaining week in and week out of the sense of urgency that the WWE needed to have heading into WrestleMania to put these match cards out there, because there are some matches that are selling to me. I'm sold. Yeah, sure, I'm sold on all 8 matches thus far. But just think of the interaction that you can get to build water on a lot of these feuds, announcing them a week or two ago and not waiting until the last minute. For me, that was the sense, a purpose of proclaiming that. But nonetheless, we are seeing WrestleMania 42 shape out. And to just add that extra note, it has been announced that John Cena is back in the WWE, but not in a in-ring role. It has been announced that John Cena will and is set to host WrestleMania 42. And I think that is just a sweet spot. I think that is wonderful. I think that is great. Just entertain my childhood. Everyone is still so upset that John Cena lost his last match. Maybe he hosts WrestleMania. Maybe Gunther goes into WrestleMania 42, not having an opponent. John Cena responds and beats him this time. And that's his official last match. So technically, John Cena's last match, he goes out on top. Wouldn't we love to see that? That is just a theoretical moment. But as we know for now, John Cena is set to host WrestleMania 42. So with all the match cards, the excitement that we have so far, and we're going to have more to come with the Hall of Fame, as Sid and Bad News Browns was announced last week. They're going to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. They joined Demolition, AJ Styles, and Dennis Rodman, and Stephanie McMahon. That's becoming a very fun class to watch. But we got to sit back tonight, 8 p.m. Netflix. So we got to tune into that. So, well, that is all the time that we have for you guys today. I want to thank everyone for tuning into our show. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Please follow us. Have those notifications on so you don't miss a single thing. I invite you over to our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok pages where you can be up to date on all the information and wrestling conversation, sports conversations we have. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll talk some wrestling at the aftermath of Monday Night Raw. We'll talk about the Reds and Pirates Game 1, get you guys ready for Game 2, and a couple other things that will kind of build up as the week prolongs. So appreciate everyone for tuning in, and until tomorrow, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care.